Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Neil Downey, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Flying Officer Jesse Regan. We welcome the veterans who have served and those who are still serving. We also welcome the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching this broadcast ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this National Memorial and Museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting in 1916. Bean's idea was that it would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they have done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as it is described in the entrance into the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read a story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and in operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Trevor Lloyd Ainsworth. Trevor Ainsworth was born on the 28th of February 1921 in Katanning, Western Australia, to Frank and Gladys Ainsworth. His father had served with the Light Horse on Gallipoli and in France during the First World War, before being evacuated to Australia in 1918 with illness. He married Gladys, a schoolteacher, upon his return. Trevor, together with his sister Pat and brother Rodney, was brought up on his parents' farm at Boscobel. He attended Boscobel State School, where he was remembered as having a bright and happy nature. The family was well liked in the community and was fondly farewelled when they moved to North Cottesloe in 1932. After leaving school, Ainsworth worked for paper merchants Gordon and Gotch as a packer. He joined the militia on the 14th of October 1940 at age 18 and served as a trooper with the 25th Light Horse Regiment. On the 16th of April 1941, Ainsworth enlisted with the 2nd Australian Imperial Force. Initially posted to the Armoured Division, he went into training and joined reinforcements to the 4th Reserve Motor Transport Company. He arrived on the 24th of January 1942. The 8th Division was already engaged in fierce fighting, defending Malaya from the Japanese invasion. On the 14th of February 1942, Commonwealth forces in Malaya were forced to surrender, and Private Ainsworth was among the 45,000 British and Australian troops who became prisoners of war. He was initially held at Changi Prison of War Camp, but the Japanese soon called for working parties to build and expand new infrastructure across the empire. In July, Ainsworth volunteered with Bravo Force, which left for Borneo in July 1942. The men had been assured better food and conditions, but the almost 1,500 members of Bravo Force found themselves on a hellish sea journey, crammed into the cargo holds of the Ubi Maru for 11 days before arriving at Sandakan. Conditions at Sandakan soon devolved into some of the worst experienced by prisoners of the Japanese. Prisoners, including the sick, were forced at gunpoint to work on the construction of a military airstrip and were often beaten by their captors. Illness and death ravaged the camp, and food was scarce. By January 1945, the prisoners were fending for themselves. The completed airfield was soon destroyed by Allied aircraft bombing, and between January and March 1945, some 450 of the fittest prisoners were ordered to march west to Renau, around 260 kilometres away. In May, a second wave of marches was ordered, and 536 prisoners set out. These men were in much worse conditions than those in the first march, and only 183 made it to Renau. Those who fell on the track were left to die or were killed by the guards. One of those who died was Private Trevor Ainsworth. Records state that he died on the 9th of June 1945, his cause of death given as malaria. Ainsworth was dearly missed by his family, friends, and former employers, who placed in memoriam notices in the newspaper for years after he died. One was inserted alongside the couplet, "His smiling face and happy ways will linger with us all our days." Another read simply, "Vale Trev." Ainsworth's uncle, Corporal William Patterson, also served during the war and died while a prisoner of war in Thailand. Private Trevor Lloyd Ainsworth is commemorated at the Labuan Memorial in Malaysia, and his name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, amongst almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the Pool of Reflection. This is one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Trevor Lloyd Ainsworth, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has fought in his last moments. Well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you a good evening.